transitioning into a 3D space feels so freaking liberating. Ah man, I'm having goosebumps right now. I have a background as a DOP, but we always had to eat whatever is in front of us. It just feels so like I can finally tell the stories I want to tell. Unreal Engine 5, they're trying to simulate light, which is for me as a DOP, which was insane. I was completely blown away and I downloaded it and I think like 8 hours passed.
And you hadn't moved.
Yeah, exactly, like a T-Rex. I finally feel like I'm creating something meaningful, something purposeful. There was one project, there was a short circuit and a little bit of a flame. All attached storage was dead. I had no backup for it. Do I tell him the truth? Do I tell him what happened?
Hey Arthur.
Hey, nice to meet you.
You too, man. How's it going?
I'm holding up. I'm currently in the midst of a very, very crunch time intensive project, so it's a bit...
Oh, really?
Could get a little bit more sleep.
What kind of project is it? Is it Unreal Engine project?
Well, as a matter of fact, all the latest projects in the last couple of months have all been Unreal Engine projects. And tomorrow I will be heading to Berlin to make some mocap recordings, some performance capture recordings.
That's exciting. They've got you working hard, Arthur.
Yeah. The last months were crazy. Very happy to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Our pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
I think it's a bit unusual for a VFX podcast, but I do have a background as a DP and as a photographer. Like for the last 6 or 7 years, I was working on sets mostly as a first AC or as a DOP, as a gaffer as well, as a best boy. Honestly, whatever I can get on set.
Is that something that you wanted to get into from a younger age?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I was really amazed by cinema already, and I stole the video camera of my father and we went in the forest or behind the supermarket with friends and shot some weird skate content.
We did that.
Yeah, I mean,
used to film ourselves skateboarding.
It was so much fun just to point the camera at people. Slowly but surely you start trying to tell stories, which is a bit hard when working in commercials and advertisement because the client is always providing a story and you're just basically selling a whole bunch of plastic. As plasticky this world is, there's some kind of magic to trying to sell something in the least amount of time, reducing something to the base, to the most important things. Right now in Unreal Engine, for the last 3 years, I'm trying to learn to get rid of it, to take more time to explaining a story, to telling a story.
A project that I'd love to talk about is VOYAGE.
Yeah, VOYAGE, yeah.
Sorry, I'm saying it wrong.
Idiot.
Yeah, can you just talk about how that happened and why that happened?
Sometimes just sitting in the metro or in a subway and just listening to your favorite song, maybe you're a bit wasted, maybe you're a bit sleep deprived, it just floats away, your mind just completely floats away and you're imagining things happening outside which really fit the music. I think that was the base of it, like the base of the storyline. Imagine being in a metro and seeing the world shift. I really wanted to visualize that, how it would feel to me personally if everything else fades and you're just in your own world.
Where does it start when an idea like that comes into your head? What's the kind of workflow from start to finish?
So I think it was just 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was really fast. It just clicked. Every shot I did was like, yeah, I can take that. Okay, yeah, that looks cool. Okay, let's do it. And then the song was exclusively written and produced and recorded for this video. The artist, Anton Israel, he's an amazing musician and he really likes to take his time and to get everything on point. So this is a bit of an untypical project because there was no concept art for it. There was no writing, nothing. I just started creating inside Unreal Engine.
What was the first shot? Or what was the first thing that you set up? Was it the metahuman?
I don't know whether I can remember, honestly. The chicken or the egg, I don't know.
The question that no one knows the answer to.
Yeah, I think I just recorded myself with LiveLink and put it on the guy's face inside the tunnel and played around with some red light. And I thought, wow, geez, that looks cool. But what if he transitions into a whole wide world? Like, I mean, obviously, doing that in real time in a shoot, like in real life, such a shoot, that would cost a whole lot of money.
That's the beauty, isn't it, of
Yeah.
of the power of Unreal Engine.
But I really gotta say though that this is not a typical way I like to work. I really invest a lot of time creating mood boards and storyboards and concepts and a lot of writing. So this was a little bit of a I don't care, man. Just throw it all away.
Was that quite enjoyable though?
It was freaking amazing.
I can imagine that. There's no rules, there's no boundaries, there's no right, there's no wrong, no script.
Exactly.
It's very much just you feel like, oh, that looks cool. I'll do this. It feels a very nice way to create.
Exactly. And this is it reminds me a lot of my beginnings inside Unreal Engine because there were no rules. I just didn't give a like
It's the best way to, I think, learn is just try and experiment and not get too worried about I'm doing this wrong.
Yeah, definitely. And now it's all about, oh my God, another storyboard, the version 13 storyboard, which is already a couple amount of gigabytes. And okay, now we have the next screenplay going on. And now we need to iterate on that again. I can't imagine just going into a project and just f around anymore.
It's great and freeing and for certain things, but then it comes to it where you can't have too much freedom or too much, time. It's just finding that balance, isn't it? But I can imagine that being a very fun time to kind of experiment.
And time is one of the most valuable resources, right? Became one of the most valuable resources.
When did you sort of come across Unreal Engine and think, I need to use this software because I've got all my experience with cameras, lighting, storytelling, commercials?
Well, when Corona hit our industry very hard, every freaking brand subtracted their money from their marketing budget. So we were bleeding a lot and I had a lot of time. I was able to chill a bit and explore new things. And then suddenly, I don't know, it was LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever, there was this huge banner, Unreal Engine 5 release. And they showed some demos, I think, of the Lumen and Nano technologies. And for me as a DOP, I was immediately interested into this Lumen. After all, it's bounce lighting, right? It's indirect lighting. That's how they're trying to simulate light, which is for me as a DOP, which was insane to see that in real time. I knew it was possible before in DCCs like Blender or Cinema or whatever, but in real time, I was completely blown away, and I downloaded it, and I think like 8 hours passed.
And you hadn't moved, just like...
Yeah, exactly. Like a T-Rex. I was still sitting like a T-Rex in front of my keyboard, and I was just amazed by the technologies. And those things I learned about lighting a set or lighting people, staging, blocking on set, I was able to translate them into the unreal world.
Did you ever have any interest of going into the 3D world, or did you just sort of see Unreal Engine and think, I want to try it because it's, a lot of my skill sets in a digital world?
It was very fantastic in a way that was way over my head, like way on top, which I could never reach this point. But I was always in awe to see amazing 3D films. And I always also have a background in gaming. I love gaming, and I was really amazed by storytelling in gaming and the graphics aspect
and cinematics. And
I was always more interested in cinematics. And also maybe that is also a factor which drove me to a 3D space, was the fact that in recent years developers like to introduce this photo mode into video games, right? You can take photos, and sometimes they're amazingly detailed and great worked out. Like the one in Ghost of Tsushima is freaking amazing. Half of my playtime, I was taking pictures in game environments and game worlds, and I really enjoyed it. And I don't know, maybe that drove me towards.
That kind of makes sense with your passion for DOP, lighting, photography, and being able to do that on some of your favorite video games. It's kind of like, I guess it's like the biggest playground for a photographer that you could have, right?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, especially given the fact that the graphics got so freaking insane in the last years. Seeing light in all its beauty, bouncing off complex structures in real time. I mean, that brought me to the idea that maybe I can plan my real shoots inside Unreal Engine, like a pre-visualization.
Yeah.
And it worked. And I tell you, it's so magical to go on set and see all the props and people and lighting, like exactly like you built in your Unreal map.
What did you do first then in Unreal Engine? I imagine you sat there for 8 hours playing with lighting.
I love lamp. I love lamp.
I have a huge fable for people. I traveled a lot for Europe, and in every city I had my camera with me, and I asked random people if I may take a portrait of them because they looked amazing. And so naturally I felt like the first thing to do is play with metahumans and light metahumans. Apparently it's possible to light metahumans in a, I don't know, stylistic way, in a cinematic way. And I don't know, it felt like something new. The whole industry shifted so much in the last 2 years. People started producing cinematics so freaking often, and people are selling master classes for cinematic storytelling in Unreal left and right.
Will there be an Arthur Baum, masterclass in the future of DOP in Unreal Engine, potentially? Jump on the bandwagon and get your version out.
Jesus, if I have the time, I actually have a concept for that lying around. And this is, honestly, this is the one question I'm getting asked most. This question, but also, where can I start? Where do I start with Unreal Engine?
Is that the main question that you get asked a lot then?
Yeah, literally. Like every day, literally.
Really?
Yeah. I would suggest to step back from Unreal Engine and just learn the basics of photography, composition, lighting, color, and how lenses behave, how sensor capture light. Maybe even take a look at some old paintings. Those were the masters of composition and lighting.
Definitely. That makes a lot of sense, of course. Understanding the technical side, how a camera works, how lighting work.
Yeah, exactly.
That will give you a good start to go into the digital space.
Exactly, because no lens is similar to another one. No camera is similar to another one. They capture light very differently. Every sensor is different. Every lighting scenario is different. Every hour is different. How light behaves. Man, photons are crazy. They do what they want, and it's hard to control them. But it's one of the most important steps to control your photons. I mean, Unreal Engine looks amazing sometimes. You can get it to look nearly photoreal, but it's still not there. Like, it's still not photoreal, even though people are claiming it. And sometimes, like, how light behaves, especially with translucent objects, it's still not on the quality like Blender or Cinema or whatever. The simulation quality is not as good. It's getting better from update to update. But I think Sava Zikovic said it. He made this amazing short, Irradiation.
Oh, we did an episode with him.
Oh man, this was, like, for me, that was my idol. He was one of the reasons I started with Unreal Engine.
Absolute incredible work.
Incredible work. And super nice guy. I nearly watched every interview with him.
You need to watch the VFX Process.
I will. I promise. I promise. And people now telling me the same or something similar, that they started Unreal Engine because they saw my work, is just, it's just heartwarmingly amazing. Like, I can't put in words how amazing that feels to inspire people. That hits different.
The loneliness that you spend, it's great knowing that you've had such an impact and inspired people.
Yeah. Zaba said something very, very important, which shifted my perspective on Unreal Engine, or my view on Unreal Engine. He said something along the lines, please don't quote me on that, Unreal Engine is an assembly engine, not necessarily a creation engine. Once you understand that, you try to shift to other software and create there, and then bring it all together into Unreal, and then assemble it in this particular software, which makes a ton of sense and which will fasten your workflow immensely. And I really tried to create everything inside Unreal Engine, and I failed so many times. I think my whole Unreal network will agree on that.
Was there any kind of major limitations or frustrations that you had being in a digital space as a DOP?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, one of the worst limitations is it's a very lonely job. As a VFX artist, I really, really miss interacting and socializing with my teammates, with my teams. Sometimes you get very, very much invested in the project, and you just can't see it, can't have an objective view on it, which really sucks. And I really miss working in teams collaboratively.
It's quite isolating, isn't it, at times?
It is super isolating, yeah. And I'm not that guy.
Especially coming from being on set with people,
Yeah.
The energy, the conversations, the passion amongst a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Is a real vibe. As a digital artist, when you go into that world, the reality of it is, I'm going to create this image and I'm going to put it on the internet. And that's the only way to show people, unless you get people to come to your screen.
I mean, I still draw a lot of energy of releasing my stuff and people praising it and giving me feedback. It's amazing, but still, it's a very, very lonely field of expertise. You know how amazing it can be just you put together with some heads and bumping ideas left and right.
Definitely.
It's just magic. Of course, obviously, I really miss the movement. Like I need to compensate for all the sitting a lot. Like I need to do a lot of sport.
What do you do to balance that out? What hobbies do you have to kind of get you away from the computer?
5 months ago, I bought a bike, which is always bringing me to new places, which is showing me the world, kind of, at least locally right now. And it's became a huge passion for me, riding the bike. Yeah, as fast as possible. Like I really like to go fast with the bike, and then I'm super, like the sleep quality also gets better when you're really exhausted.
So what kind of external DCCs do you use in your workflow as well as Unreal Engine?
I'm starting to get into Blender, even though it feels like walking on hands, but it's so fast. I'm starting to use Marvelous Designer. I think somehow it's quite intuitive. It just clicks with me. It has an amazing quality, like the quality of simulations, how cloth and garments behave. It's super good. I got into Embergen. They actually put my video, like one of my videos, on their website. It's like,
hell yeah.
I had no idea what I'm doing, but they liked it. So yeah, it's a very, very good tool, and I'm really looking forward to LiquidGen. Also, Nick Sievert, the CEO of Embergen, he personally sent me a postcard where he thanked me for purchasing Embergen, which was one of the nicest things anybody can do. I don't know. I love the team.
Feels like a really nice package, bit of Blender and this and Marvelous, and it's kind of works.
Also Substance. It's just, I don't know,
Oh, yeah?
Substance just clicks with me as well. I really enjoy painting textures on surfaces, even though I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing. But sometimes an idiot can produce faster and more efficient than somebody who's thinking 1,000 hours about a certain thing.
That's the best way to do it, yeah.
Sometimes I miss the old days where I encountered Unreal Engine because I had no idea what I was doing. So I wasn't thinking about it. I just produced like 10 pictures a day. Now it feels like I'm producing one little short clip in a year or half a year.
It's that side of your brain, like trying to overthink things because you know more.
I mean, obviously the projects got very big as well and very ambitious. And now I'm at the point that I can't solve this alone anymore. Kind of the realization that I don't want and don't need to learn everything.
You know what you need to know to kind of get the result rather than thinking, I need to know everything. Because it's so overwhelming with add-ons and softwares and...
Exactly. And especially for someone who likes to light and to frame, which is kind of a creative field, sometimes there are phases in Unreal Engine where I think I'm just solving technical issues, which is super frustrating for me. I don't have the patience for that, and but it's just necessary. And the one thing which is very refreshing for me right now is, I have this group on Discord, Unreal Engine filmmakers. There are just freaking stellar people in it.
Oh, is it your Discord?
No, it's not mine. A guy called Connor.
Not Connor Buchanan.
Yeah, exactly.
We've done an episode with that dude as well.
Really?
Yeah. But he's such a nice guy.
Love Connor. I think we're currently over 50 people, and everybody has a background, some kind of cinematic storytelling, and it's just amazing to do these little challenges right now, which we introduced because it really focuses your mind onto, okay, you have 1 or 2 hours, just create something really quick. And this is so nice again.
You can have the no boundaries, no rules. It's all fun, and that's great to some degree. But then there's also something really nice about being given a limit.
Deadlines are magic. They push me really good.
What kind of person are you in terms of like organization? Do you like lists? Do you like structure?
Most projects, I really like a structured workflow. Everything is organized, everything is structured. I like my color codings. I'm always having this rule, what if I give this project to another person?
That's super important, isn't it? In the world of pipelines and 3D, you've got to consider the next person, especially if you're in a team.
I'm still dying to try out this multiplayer functionality on Unreal Engine that 2 or 3 or more people are joining one project together. But I heard it's a little bit unstable, and I'm a little bit afraid of data loss.
Terrifying.
Yeah, it's terrifying. Like 2 weeks ago, I bought a NAS server. So.
Did that come from an actual experience of losing a project?
Yeah.
What happened there?
Dude, I don't know if I can talk about that.
We've all got these crazy stories when we lose a project or a file?
Okay, I don't need to say any names. There was one project, it was more than 100 gigabytes already, and I upgraded my PC with a new GPU. And there was a short circuit or whatever, and like a poof and a little bit of a flame.
Satan called, he wants his computer back.
Blazing fast upgrades.
All attached storage was dead. All SSDs, all NVMEs were dead.
Oh,
Yeah, and this commercial project, I had no backup for it, so
this is painful.
that was on me. I brought the SSD to a data recovery service, and they were like, "Yeah, we can maybe save it, but just give us $2,000." Do I tell him the truth? Do I tell him what happened? Because it's a commercial project, he's paying me, or am I pulling some all-nighters and rebuild the whole? And I decided for latter. I never told him.
Oh my God.
I never
That's
ever
insane.
told him, which is people up. Don't worry about it. Just tell the truth, and you will find a solution. But in this particular case, I up and I rebuild it. And I often think to myself, even if something gets destroyed or broken or whatever, you can rebuild it 9 out of 10 times a better way.
And it kind of happens quicker-ish the
Way
second
quicker.
time?
Way quicker. It was an interesting experience, and he never said something like, "Oh, that looks weird. That looks different."
Phew.
He was like,
I feel the fear that you felt when it died. So I guess your advice for people working in the digital world would be back up and save.
"Yeah, man, everybody knows that."
Everyone knows, yeah, of course.
Backupping your files every single day on a proprietary NAS on a server.
Quick one, Arthur. You know, in Voyage, you know that big whale that is flying through the air?
Yeah.
It gave me real Fish Night vibes from Love, Death, Robots. Have you seen that episode called Fish Night?
Of course.
Is there any link there or not?
It wasn't intentional, but people kept telling me that they often thought of Love, Death, Robots of this particular episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, obviously that's a great source for inspiration, right? Like that would be a dream come true. I particularly love the episode David Fincher directed. The pirate ship with the stormy seas
yes.
with the weird crab. I love how Fincher directed it. I love seeing big Hollywood directors coming into this animation space right now. It's just very, very, very cool to see.
You know, it's taking animation and VFX and like the CG world very seriously in terms of like storytelling, and Guillermo del Toro's like Pinocchio that kind of won a huge recognition for an animation film. So it's no longer just, oh, it's an animation. It's a film. It's a story.
Exactly. And, you know, I mean, I keep telling I have a background as a DOP, but I was a very, very small one. Our production company was very small. Our budgets were super limited, and we always had to eat whatever is in front of us. Transitioning into a 3D space feels so freaking liberating. It's just, man, I'm having goosebumps right now because
Really?
It just feels so like I can finally tell the stories I want to tell. It doesn't matter if it's wacky or weird or cringy. It doesn't freaking matter. Just start creating. I think Nico Puringer from Corridor Digital put it very, very, very nicely. He said a little bit of whack is always good. In the last 2 years, man, the whole development inside the AI stuff, like the AI tools got insane. They can help you tremendously. Most of the tools like Blender and Unreal are free. You don't even need a high-end GPU for that. There's just not much excuses.
What are you using AI for out of interest? Because you mentioned that you sort of used it in your workflow.
So in the latest project, How to Kill a God, I started creating concept art for the whole world building, the character art. I started using Midjourney and then refined it in Photoshop and so on. I started using ChatGPT to help me writing the script, because I'm not a writer and really with that, but some parts it did really well for me. I started using 11 Labs for maybe creating kind of a voiceover. And then I like using Move AI for capturing performance. I actually captured a whole ton of performance already.
How many iPhones do you use for your setup?
So usually we have between 4 and 5 iPhones for capturing movement. I still think it's not 100% on the level of non-markerless mocap suits. I can't explain it. I'm not firm with the technical terms, but just the weight of the body doesn't seem translated that well, and sometimes the denoiser is a little bit too strong for my taste. Just looks a little bit too smooth. for this particular project, I actually want to switch to traditional mocap performance capture.
How to Kill a God, I guess we're going to wrap on that. Like, what's that about, and where's that going, and what does that look like? We've got the teaser, which we love.
Yeah.
Where's it going? We want more.
Yeah, it had an amazing impact. Like I posted it on LinkedIn, and people kept writing me days and days on about this teaser. It's a cinematic 3-part series about a guy who's lost everything, and it's playing in the Norse Viking era. He's going to Asgard, to the land of the gods, where in my version the gods are kind of up human beings which have just a little bit too much power. He just goes to the gods and just wants to ask them, why did you let it happen? But the main important part, which is highly inspired by Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, the amazing video game, one of the most important parts of this cinematic 3-part series is I really want to visualize the horrors of trauma and dealing with psychological issues. And sometimes he sees things which are not real, but we can't really tell what is real and what is not. And on all fronts of this cinematic, I'm feeling challenged like every freaking day. I'm very, very freaking happy that I have at least some people to help me with that, which they are doing in their free time, in their spare time.
When's it coming out?
When it's done.
Whenever it's done. That's it.
But another interesting fact about it is that I created this human with a meta-human creator, and I never felt attached to him. I just never did, and I needed a break, and I went boat paddling in the nature. And there was a guy renting boats who looked like the most badass Viking. I just approached him and asked him, yo, may I scan your face? Because you look super interesting and I'm doing a short and I wanted you to be my hero.
Amazing.
He was like, yeah, sure. Why not? I had his face mesh. I imported it into Unreal Engine. I made his face, I textured his face. I put some dirt on it. And now he is my hero, which looks way cooler than my initial hero.
He looks so badass.
Yeah.
I guess that's similarly like going up to people in the streets as a photographer and saying, can I take a photo of you? And there you're like, not just can I take a photo of you, can I scan your head?
Can I scan you? Yeah.
What's going on in the world of Arthur next? What's the next 4 months look like?
I'm eligible for some vacation finally, so I think I'm gonna head into the mountains in the nature and go for a hike, long hike, and hopefully start working on How to Kill a God again, because the non-commercial free projects are more fun. Way more fun.
When you're out on vacation or you go into the mountains and you're separating yourself from the digital world or professional work, do you ever disconnect properly?
I feel like in the last 2 years I found a completely new passion, which was very, very hidden for a long time. When you discover a passion like that, which is so powerful, which became your full-time job, it feels like you can never switch off, and everything you see kind of has the potential to benefit you in the process of creating art. Because I finally feel like I'm creating something meaningful, something purposeful, which is a nice thing. And that's why it's really hard to disconnect and just turn off my mindset. And sometimes you see a sunset, and a real sunset, and you say, oh, that's a nice HDRI. Yo, overcast weather, that would be perfect weather to scan.
I guess you just can't help it, even though you're kind of not in the world of it. It's just your brain is seeing things from a different perspective,
What's really great about it, and William Fauché, another legend, he put it really nicely, just take a step back from the computer, grab your camera, and you be inspired by nature. Take some photographs and breathe some air, and you will come back with so much more energy. That's freaking important, guys. Don't forget to go outside.
That's a great point to finish on there, Arthur. That's a great final point. I mean, thanks, man. That was an absolute pleasure to hang out and chat.
Yeah.
Really, really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too. Thank you so much for inviting me.
It's a pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Well, I'll leave you to crack on with your project and your deadlines.
Tricky client. Very tricky client currently.
Well, Arthur, I'll speak to you very soon. All the best and thank you.
Thank you too. All the best.
Okay.
To you too.
Take care, man.
You too.
Take care, Arthur.
Bye.